Hi guys, this is Cabal with TGN, and in this video we're going to talk about how to set up and configure button timers. Alright, once you load World of Warcraft with button timers, the first thing you're going to notice is that they should be positioned something like this. There should be 4 of them, and they should be like vertically aligned like this. That's the default position. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to focus on is changing the size and orientation of the actual button timers bars. So in the layout that I'm going to set up, I want the first and second button timers bars to be horizontal. So we're going to change their orientation so that they're both horizontal. So come into, you want to go into Interface, Add-ons, and then choose Button Timers from the side here. And then come over and click on the Bar 1. You're going to see a drop-down box for orientation. So click on that and choose Horizontal. Then come down to Bar 2. Same thing, choose horizontal, like that. Say OK. Now notice that both of the bars are horizontal at this point. Okay, now that we've done that, let's focus on changing the size of the actual bars. So again, go back into Interface, Add-ons, Button Timers. Let's select Bar 1, and we're going to change the bar scale to 1.5 on Bar 1 and Bar 2. So 1.5. Make sure that when you enter 1.5 you actually hit enter so that it saves it. If you don't, it won't save it. Let's go out and look. Notice the bars are distinctly bigger. That's the way they should look, like that. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to focus on choosing a layout. So in this particular layout that I'm working with right here, the left bar is going to have all the timers for my self-buffing abilities like, Time Warp, Ice Barrier, a DPS bot, or whatever. And then this bar will have like my main attack abilities, my main spells, and it may have some debuffs for various spells. You'll see what this means in just a moment. And the third bar that I'm mousing over right now, this isn't going to have any actual timers. I just have this here to track like the just random kinds of abilities like Blink or something like Puno's Frost Grenades, just random abilities. Okay, now keep in mind when you set this up that you can go with any layout that you want. You don't have to have the vertical bar over here or the horizontal bars right here. I mean, you can have 4 bars, any orientation you want. You can have 1 bar that's horizontal. You can have any layout that you want. I've had people in the past criticize the layout that I've chosen because they say that it's kind of clogged to have everything right in the center of the screen. Like for example, when I use button timers, there will be several timers actually blocking the very center of the screen. For whatever reason, that seems to work pretty well for me. I don't really need to look at my character when I play. When I'm playing, I'm more concerned with things like debuff timers and ability cooldowns and that sort of thing for my rotation. So this particular layout works pretty well for me, but use whatever layout works for you. Let's now walk through a very quick example of how to set up one single button. So this is bar 1 right here. Let's move bar 1 over here like this. And let's say that we want to track the Arcane Brilliance buff on ourselves. So the way we do this is by opening the spellbook and then dragging Arcane Brilliance over to bar 1 right there. Now we're going to go into the Interface menu, Add-ons, Button Timers. See how Arcane Brilliance is on the list for bar 1? But notice that it's not, when we exit out, notice it's not showing a timer. Now the way we set a timer is, let's go back in, click on Arcane Brilliance, and for target we want to choose Player, and for type we want to choose Aura, like that. Notice how it's actually showing the actual bar now? Okay, let's now demonstrate another kind of timer. This will be a debuff timer. So let's grab Cone of Cold, drag it over there, like that, close that, go to Interface, Add-ons, Button Timers. See where it says Cone of Cold? We want to make sure that for this, the target is set to target, and the type is set to aura. So we're going to very quickly test this. Let's find a mob. Okay, I want to pull both, so we're going to go ahead and open up with Frostbolt. Wait till it gets close, and I'm going to hit it with a Cone of Cold, and you'll be able to see the actual debuff for Cone of Cold. See how it showed up right there? That's pretty much how the debuff timer works. Now you'll notice that I'm using OmniCC in conjunction with button timers You cast Cone of Cold, see the little yellow countdown there? That's being created by OmniCC. So this can be kind of a useful thing when you use it with button timers. Let me give you an example. Let's move the bars over here like this, which is where they're going to end up, like that. Now in this layout, the only two button timers bars that are going to show the green timers are going to be this bar right here and this one right here. The third bar isn't going to show the green timer. So let me give an example of how this could be useful. Let's grab Blink, drop it on this bar, and then go into the configuration for button timers. Okay, there's Blink right there. Now I only want to show, I don't want to show the green bar, I just want OmniCC to show me the remaining cooldown. So for target, you want to choose target, and then for type, you want to use none. Now watch what happens when I cast Blink. See that? It just shows the OmniCC remaining cooldown. This is kind of a useful thing to have sometimes. Okay, now that we have a basic understanding of how button timers works, let's go through a realistic example. So I'm going to move these off, the bars that we have set up right here, move that off, and let's start with this bar right here. So I just want to put all my DPS cooldowns over here. So the first thing I'm going to do is drag my trinket, my first trinket, put it right there. Now I'm going to drag my second trinket over, even though you can't activate it. I usually put it here just as a placeholder in case I do get a trinket in the future. I can just replace it right there. The third thing I'm going to drag over is my DPS pot. So let's set it right there. Next, I'm going to drag this item over right there. Then I'm going to drag over Icy Veins. Let me find it in the spellbook. Okay, Icy Veins right there. Next, I'm going to drag Time Warp over. So let's find Time Warp. Time Warp right there. And then last, I'm going to drag Alter Time over. Okay, so let's set it right there. So as an example, if you activate the first trinket, notice how the green timer bar shows up. The reason why the green timer shows up comes back to the configuration of each of the individual buttons on bar, in this case bar 4. If you want it to work exactly the way I have it here, then you need to change the target and type to player and aura respectively for every single one in the list. So notice I click on this one, that's how it's set. Click on this one, player aura, player aura, player aura. See what I mean? Player aura. They all have to be set like that because you're basically tracking an aura on yourself for every single one of these buttons. Alright, let's now configure this bar right here. So I'm going to move my main attack abilities onto this bar. So let me start with, let's go through and look and see which abilities we have. Let's move Frozen Orb over, right there. Let's move Frostfire Bolt over. Let's move Ice Lance over, just gotta find it. Like that. Let's also move Deep Freeze over. Okay, back up. Where is Deep Freeze? C, D, there it is, Deep Freeze. And I'm going to, in this case, I'm going to also track my pet's freeze ability. So let me get my pet out. There's freeze, let's move it over there. Oh wait, okay, there's actually a little trick about this. If you want to track your pet's freeze ability, I remember solving this problem before. You got to go into your macros and then make a macro that casts freeze and then drag that over instead. So that's sort of a workaround. And let's move, let's see, Frost Bomb over, and then we're going to move Evocation over. Let's find Evocation, it's right there. And there we go. Okay, now this layout is going to require just a little bit of explanation. For Frozen Orb, I don't want to see the green bar. So if I cast it, I mean, that's pretty much the way I want that to work. For Frostfire Bolt, I don't want to see the green bar. Same goes for Ice Lance. Now for Deep Freeze, I will want to see a green bar because I want to track how long the target's been frozen. For our pet freeze, I don't want to track the debuff for that. And for Frost Bomb, I do want to track the debuff on that. We're going to talk about evocation in just a moment. So that said, let's configure each of these buttons the way I just specified. So go to Interface, Add-ons, ButtonTimers, go up to bar 1. Frozen Orb is configured properly. Its target equals target and type equals none. Frostfire Bolt is also configured properly. Ice Lance also configured properly. Deep Freeze, notice that we have it configured as target equals target, type equals aura. Again, this will show a green bar that represents how long the Deep Freeze debuff is on the target. This is our pet freeze. We don't want to track a debuff for that. And Frost Bomb is configured properly. We want to set target equal to target and type equal to aura because we want to track how long the Frost Bomb debuff is on the target. And again, we're going to come back to evocation in just a moment. Okay, now let's go ahead and test our layout to make sure that it's working properly. I just tested it a moment ago and I kind of fouled up a pole, so I'm waiting on my trinket to come off cooldown. But again, we're going to test this bar to make sure that all the timers work here, and then we're going to test this bar specifically to make sure that the Frost Bomb and Deep Freeze timers show up when I use them. Okay, so everything's off cooldown, and we're going to pull one of these birds. So I'm actually going, just for illustrative purposes, I'm going to cast Time Warp. I don't think I have a key binding set up currently for that. So we're going to Time Warp, DPS Macro, Ice Lance, bring the target down there. We're going to Deep Freeze, see the green timer showed up there. Frost Bomb, the Frost Bomb timer showed up properly. So that's sort of the general idea, that the configuration is set up properly. Okay, I want to repeat this for clarity. You don't have to use the layout that I'm using. You just saw how when I was using ButtonTimers that the timers were blocking the center of the screen. A lot of people have complained about that. You don't have to use that layout. If you want to move the bar away so it doesn't block the line of sight, you can. You can move them, configure them any way that you want. Alright, there is one more thing that I'd like to cover in this video. That is a special case of using ButtonTimers for a talent called Invocation. The way this talent works is anytime you cast Evocation, it will give you I think it's a 45-second buff. Let's see. A 40-second buff called Invoker's Energy that increases your spell damage. Now, ideally using ButtonTimers, it would be nice if you could track the timer just for Invoker's Energy. Fortunately, there is a way to do this. So we have Evocation set up on our action bar right now, so we're going to go into Interface, come down to Evocation, and we're going to choose Player, because this is a self buff, and then we're going to choose Aura, because it's an aura. Now notice if you just go with that, it isn't working, even though we have the buff. So let's rebuff again, and we're going to go back in and fix this. Go back into Interface, Add-ons, ButtonTimers. We're currently on Invocation, so we want to come down where it says Other Auras and type Invoker's Energy. Say Accept, and then Show Aura Icon. Click OK. See, now it's showing up there. That's a very useful way of tracking Invoker's Energy. Alright, now that we've got it all set up, let's demonstrate a very brief section of a single target rotation on a target dummy. So let's drop a target dummy right here, and we're going to start off by getting our, what is it called? Invoker's Energy. As soon as we have that, we're going to start our pull, DPS Macro, Range Freeze, Frost Bomb, Frozen Orb, Deep Freeze, start spamming Frost Lance. Frost Lance, god damn it! Okay, that said, you get the general idea, and that wraps up this tutorial. Thanks for watching.